Nithyanandam, Namaste. Parasharananda here, also known as Parashara to you guys, my viewers. Today I wanted to speak about a topic that I mentioned in my previous video that I was going to shed some light on. So one of the things I wanted to speak about today is um, I wanted to speak to you guys about what is incompletion. I've mentioned it in videos and before, and incompletion, one of the biggest incompletions you can have is connected to your root pattern. So I'm going to share my used to be root pattern um, so that you guys can understand how your root pattern, the first incident that happened in your life that started um, having you manifest your reality based off a cognition that you picked up from either someone else or a situation or some kind of traumatic incident or so. Okay, so my root pattern, I discovered it during Sadashivatwa, kind of like inner awakening, um, in Bangalore Arinam with Swamiji. And I thought I found my root pattern, but I didn't really fully understand what a root pattern was. I was thinking that like it was just incidents, all the incidents that happened, let's say last year or 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and it's just like, oh yeah, these things are affecting blah blah blah. I didn't really understand what it meant until one of the Swami's um, fathers came to me. He came up to me and um, he started talking to me, and next thing you know, we was working on my root pattern, and I was telling him the closest thing I can remember is when I was really young, probably like around 2 or 3 or 2. I ran away from home, and I told him I ran away from home because my grandmother wanted to give me a spanking, or no. I ran away from home because she said that it was time to take a shower, time to take a bath. But I was outside playing, and I didn't want to go inside yet and take a bath. And my mother told me that she was calling me because she wanted to go to the grocery store. So I guess both of them are true. I probably wanted to go ahead and didn't want to take a bath. My grandmother was calling me for a bath, but she was calling me for a bath so so we can go to the grocery store. So when she said that, I said no, and she was like, "Let me get the belt," like a parent would say, like, "Let me get the belt," and I just started, I just started running. I just started running down the street. I just started running and running and running and running, passing cars, blocks. At the time, I was born in Panama, in Central America. It's the last country connecting Central America and South America, so it's considered an isthmus, a small island that connects two bigger countries together. It's usually hot there and everything, but so that's was when I told him this, and I told him the reason why, because I got scared out of fear due to fear, because my grandmother was going to probably give me a little spanking or something for saying no and not coming in to bathe. He said it's deeper than that. I was like, what do you mean it's deeper than that? And he said, you were not born with fear. As in, when you're born, you're not born and you're just like fear of everything. You don't have fear unless it's like brought over from the past life or something. But that's usually on a rare occasion. I mean, you do carry some bio memory. Swamiji does say that you do carry some bio memory with you um, when you are reincarnating into your next life. When you reincarnate. So, but I wasn't born with fear. He said, because I was talking about like me being a Leo and everything and courageous and everything. He said, if you were courageous, if you were like independent, like in that kind of sense, then you would have went up to her and said, No, I don't want to bathe. Instead of running away from home, running away from the whole entire like neighborhood. So I said, okay, I get it. So the fear that came up from that incident is connected to something when I was younger. So 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 now it's gonna get more personal. So one of the sorry, there's a lot of bugs flying around. So I ended up finding out that well one okay, let's just go to this. One day, I don't think we was able to find it. I had like a normal birth and everything, so it was nothing with birth or anything. But one day, um, and I feel like Swamiji just set up this whole entire thing for me to find out what my root pattern was. Well, it was him who set up the whole thing so I could find out my root pattern. So I had a puja book. Puja is worship to your guru, accepting him as your guru, and also to Sadashiva. And you do it to this Atmalinga, which I will speak about. It's the most powerful crystal. It's actually fossilized ice. It's the most powerful crystal. The person who is very expert in crystal has held this once an inner awakening and was like, this is the most powerful crystal I ever like I ever held in my life. He has probably all the crystals in the world except the Amalinga. And I'll show you guys more detail of what symbolizes on it and everything. So, um, so this is an embodiment representation of Swamiji, and well, the um, padukas is it looks like sandals, which you're worshiping at his feet, and Sadashiva. So, anyways, I had a puja book, and the puja book instructions you so you know every single step in the puja, all the mantras, all the steps, what to offer, when to ring the bell, um, what mantras and what hand gestures you do, and what declarations you do in the beginning. So in that book, I was gifted from one of my good dear friends, Aparocha, in the Arinam. I met her in the Arinam. And she gifted me a photo of Swamiji with two Guruku Balasants next to him. It's one of my favorite photos of him. One of them, with him holding a fire in like this pot, and he's looking up with this like beautiful smile on his face. And you guys can say hi to Ganesh. He's the one who clears all obstacles. But we'll get to that in some other video. So in that picture, it's one of my favorite pictures. So I was doing puja. I finished puja, and I believe I forgot my puja book in the Rajasabha. The Rajasabha is the main hall where inner awakening happens. That's where we do our morning routine. And I think I've left it on some chair or something. And usually, a lot of people want that book because they get to do integrated puja, and it's not all the time available. So usually, if they see it, they would go ahead and take it or something. And so the following day, when I'm looking for my puja book in my bag, I'm like started panicking, and I was just saying to myself, "No, I'll find it. I'll find it," because I had that picture, high def, just clear, like the actual photo pictures of Swamiji in the book. So every time when I would open up the puja book to worship, I would have the picture in front, of and behind his padukas, his feet. So I was trying to do my puja, and I was feeling so like bad. I was feeling so like terrible. I was like, oh my gosh, like who the heck took my book? I got a little upset, because I had my favorite photo, and I'm just like, damn, now the person has like the best photo of Swamiji. It has my puja book. Like they know if it's not theirs, why would they take it? Blah blah blah. And I was saying all this to myself while I'm doing puja. I was like, you know what? I need to make sure that I hold the space that I'm doing right now for puja, because all about the space that you hold, even if you're doing it integrated or not integrated or not, because integrity is a cognition. It's not the actions you do. The actions follow. So I went ahead, I finished my puja, and I said, I'll find it. Holding the space that I'll find it. Didn't end up finding it. It wasn't in the causing hall or anything, none of this about. And so I was like, all right, that's fine. We'll just have to get a new one. 2 days later, it was still bugging me. So I went to my usual friend, who's a sannyasi, um, to do. I usually do completion with her. I love doing completion with her because she's very knowledgeable on what Swamiji says, and she knows what to say. And I went to her and I was and she knows the usual. We've done like so many completions, like cosmic mother completion, so many different completions. So I went up to her during causing time and I was like, I need completion. And I was like, she was like, about what? I was like, someone took my puja book and I'm still upset about it and it's been 2 days. So then she was like, okay. And then we just start talking and completing with it and everything. And then she was like, how do you feel? And I was like, better. And then I started thinking for a minute and I looked like I was thinking a little bit longer than I should have. And she was like, no, you're not fully complete. It's something deeper. What is it? And then I was like, well, now that you mentioned it, I did have this on my mind the past couple of days. I heard something and I had it on my mind like the past couple of days. And then she was like, that's not it. And I was like, well, I guess the main reason is because I want to see my dog. I miss my dog. I want to bring him Kalabereva. Went ahead and said to, which is the Akashic reading. Kalabereva is the Lord of space and time. And when you ask him a question, when the Balasants give you an Akashic reading, and you can ask any question you want about your present, future, or past based on a space that you hold and the possibilities, it tells you the answer. He tells you the answer. So he told me to bring my dog to Guruku Garden. So that was kind of like my wish vision to bring him to the Guruku Garden. But my family got really used to him. So he will be staying home in New York. And so I was telling her that I miss him very much. Right when I started talking about that, I started tearing up. And the last time I teared up was about him. It was when I saw a picture of him 2 weeks into being in India. Didn't see his picture until I saw a picture of me. Like, I saw a picture of him sitting on the bed looking straight at me within the week before leaving to India. So seeing that is kind of like him looking at me and saying, like, I miss you. And so I just started tearing up, but I was holding it in because I don't like crying in front of a large group of people. If it was just one person, that's fine, but a large group of people, and I don't know, it's just so. So I went ahead and I I was holding it in a little bit, and I was tearing up. I was letting myself tear some, and then she was like, "It's deeper than that," and I was like, we got to the point that we found out that it was I manifested my dog due to the fact that I felt like I should have been treated the way I treated my dog when I was a baby. In my baby world, when right before I was one, Swamiji gave me the boom to have thoughts as a baby, and babies not supposed to have thoughts till they're 2 or 3 years old because they can't handle emotion. But I since I was with Swamiji right before this life, I already was so conscious of everything and aware of everything. So during my first birthday party, and again I told you guys I'm a Leo. Well, by Western astrology, I'm Leo, and my birthday theme was Lion King. So I was literally manifesting my reality ever since I was born. Since I was born and my mother was still with my grandmother, I was born by two females. Growing up to 1 years old, I was still being afterwards praised by them and everything, like anything else. But there was one incident during the birthday party, and I didn't even remember this. I needed my I needed super Priya, my sister, to go ahead and body scan me to find out what happened because I buried it so deep as a baby. So my mother wanted to tend to the friends and guests and family members at the party of mine, and I was in this lion suit and everything. I was getting all the attention and everything, and then she wanted to give me to my grandmother. My grandmother was also busy. So since my grandmother was busy, she was a little agitated that my mom was trying to give me to her. My mom was a little agitated because she wanted to tend to the guests and family members and stuff because they needed to be tended to because it was a party that they was hosting and there wasn't much people helping. So there was that quick tension of both of them between them for that quick second. One time my grandmother took me. And during that moment, since I was aware of everything, I felt like my mother didn't want anything to do with me, and I felt like my no, and I felt like my mother didn't want me, and I felt like my grandmother didn't want anything to do with me. So at that moment, as a baby, I developed the cognition and the thought current that if no one wants me, I don't need anybody, and I can do everything on my own. And I developed like this powerless independency and emotion and action, and I see how that turned out in my life, like taking action towards things, work, or whatever the case may be, without consulting my mother all the time, which led me into issues in my life, or um, feeling like I can do everything on my own, not needing any help from anybody. If I do need help from somebody, then all these things. Um, so my time is almost up. So I'm going to end this with a conclusion, and I will have a part two for this video because this video is actually pretty long, and you guys have the full out of the story and know how this happened, the events in my life. Um, but yeah, that's what a root pattern is. It's something based off, most likely, majority of the time, a baby or a childhood incident that happened, that you start manifesting a cognition based off that incident or that trauma throughout your life, and you're thinking, like, oh, this is happening to me, why this is happening to me, when really it's just something that you need to complete with. So with this being said, thank you all for watching. Be blissful.